Sweet.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna open this thing up. If anybody has questions in Malice Maker chat, I'll pick those up at the end, and we'll hit them with Jesse. I got us some time for that for sure. But Jesse, we're going to open right into it. So, like I said, welcome to Malice. We're super interested in hearing your story, your journey. We've posted your videos in here before, especially if we talked some of your recent calls on. I'm a bit of a 3-3 ohm guy myself, a
Nice.
fanboy, thanks to you, honestly. So, you started all of us down on that rabbit hole, and we have you to thank for that. So, oh, it's good stuff. And picking into an article I saw doing a little research on you from the storyofcraft.com and talking about your I'm watching your videos, right? Talking about your journey in that first year to make from $1 theoretically, right, to a million in a year. And you started out doing a lot really in like the side hustle realm, right? It was cold calling, flipping items that you own, content for brands, marketing, launching a product, flipping land, and then your YouTube channel that you grew. And in that first year, it was 150,000 is what you had gotten. What was that first year like for you?
Yeah. So the first year, basically, the way I started out my journey was I had a business where I filmed weddings. So I filmed weddings out in the Bay Area in California, and they were usually really expensive weddings. And I made a little over $100,000 a year doing that. And so I have 5 kids. I'm married. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and so I'd been doing that for about 5 years, and that was like what I did for a living. And then COVID happened, and they had lockdowns, and I remember in my head it was like the NBA like canceled their games. They started locking, doing everyone staying at home, and then I started getting all these cancel requests from all these brides because everything was shutting down. And so I went from getting $100,000 that I was supposed to make that year. I had booked out jobs to zero, where I was going to make nothing. And it was like literally over a course of a couple weeks, and it was like just world rocking for me because I didn't know what I was going to do. I had kids. I had this business that took forever to build. It was really difficult to build, and overnight it's like I don't know if I even have a company anymore, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to start back up. And so that's kind of what spurred me into my journey. And I just kind of over the next couple months, like watched my bank accounts just drain. I couldn't figure anything out. I didn't know what to do. And I started reading a ton of books. I started really just working on myself and saying, okay, like I thought I was working at my 100%, but I need to find another 800% to keep going essentially. And so I started reading those books, and I started posting on TikTok and sharing kind of the things that I was learning. Because I didn't know what to do for a business, but I knew I could at least post on social media. I'd read Gary Vee's book, Crushing It, and he was just talking about how social media is like the resume of today. It's like, that's how you make connections. So I started posting on social media, and then one day I was just, I still hadn't built a business. I was still trying to do stuff and had failing. I had zero income coming in. My bank account was about, at zero. And I was thinking, like, what if I did this crazy challenge for myself where I said, hey, what if I try to make $1 million in a year from scratch? And it'd make a good series for TikTok for one. But for the big thing was it would motivate me to try something to push outside my own limits and try something that I didn't think was possible, but I needed to rise to that challenge. So I announced it on my TikTok, which at the time I'd grown to 40,000 followers, which is like, this is crazy. I had no following before this, like zero. Well, I mean, I had like my friends who, followed me on Instagram and stuff, but no like real following. And then, so I launched, I had no idea what I was going to do. I started it out with $1, and the mindset behind that was because I obviously had stuff. Like I had stuff in my house. I had like my couch, my TV. I had uh, a PlayStation, an Xbox, and stuff like that. Stuff I think most people kind of have in their houses. Um, so I had other money and stuff. I didn't have $1 in my bank, but the idea was with investing, if you had $1 million and you're investing, well, it's really easy to make say $100,000 a year just investing in safe stocks in the stock market, right? And so the idea behind the dollar was that's all I had to invest. But I had zero income coming in. So I launched. I didn't know what I was going to do. Oh, what was that? Okay. I didn't know what I was going to do. And that first week, I was just like trying to think of ideas, like, how am I going to bring in money? So I just thought, well, I used to do video. I could do video marketing because I could like combine marketing and video. So I started cold calling. I went to the Chamber of Commerce website in my city. It's a pretty small little city up in the mountains. And I started just cold calling every single business. And I did this every day. I had like a list. I would try to get 50 calls in at minimum to start, and then 75, then 100. I did that for a week, and I literally not one person agreed to work with me. It was really depressing, and yeah, it was pretty bad. Um, and then so what I ended up doing is I ended up calling up my buddy. I remembered he had talked about wanting to do gifts. He's like a financial planner, and he wanted to like be able to send like gifts to his clients. And I could take photos, and so I was like, hey man, like, would you be willing to, like, what if you paid me $100 and I shot some photos of you and I turned them into gifts? And he was like, all right, well, like whatever, sounds good. And so that was how I got like my first 100. And then because at this point, like, I just didn't want to fail. I just didn't want to fail the first week because it wasn't about the challenge. It wasn't about anything. It was about kind of my own motivation. Like, I felt like if I failed to do it, then I would just be a failure from that point on in my own mind, and I would just never accomplish anything. So it's like I had to get a win any way I could. And then I was getting ready to dial up more people on to cold call because I was like, I don't know what to do. Tomorrow's kind of like my 1 week deadline. My goal was $1,000 my first week, and I'd raised at that point 100 now. And I got a call from like when you own a business, you'll get like a bunch of calls from like like Yelp and like a bunch of other stuff. Like they try to sell you stuff. It's pretty bad. I used to have to like get this like little robot on my phone, like an app that would like block them because I'd get so many.
So
But anyway, I
bad.
got yeah. Anyway, I got one of those calls where they were trying to get me to sign up for this thing. It's pretty common when you own a business that they try to get you to sign up for like loans and like funding, where they like want you to take out a loan to like further expand your business. I think because they think e-commerce, but with a wedding business, it didn't make sense. Anyway, but they called me and they're like, "Hey, we have this thing. We want you to sign up." But I remember thinking to myself like this is an opportunity. I can do something on this call. So I told the guy on the phone, told him my whole story. I told him what I was trying to do, and I just straight up asked this guy that was trying to sell me something. I asked him for cash. I was like, "Hey, you guys are a company that supports entrepreneurs, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to give you anything in return. There's no like, you're not getting anything out of this, but just supporting the journey. You get to be a part of the story." And anyway, long story short, the guy ended up agreeing to it. They PayPal me the money the next day, and that's how I got my first $1,000. And then from there, I was just doing literally anything I could. I was selling stuff out of my garage. I ended up selling my PS4. I went to and approached a restaurant that a local restaurant. I said, "Hey, your guys' website could use a new website." So I'll make one for you guys for free. You guys just have to pay like the hosting fees. I'll do all the photography, everything. And they're like, sweet, that sounds awesome. And so I ended up making them a website, and then they loved it. They thought it was amazing. And I was like, hey, like in exchange, I just want to know more about your business. And so they told me a lot of stuff about their business. They shared like they really opened up and like kind of shared all the different things that they were struggling with. And the biggest thing with COVID was marketing. And they were paying this company a bunch of money to market. And I was like, well, I could do that instead. And you see, I've done a good job with the website. And they're like, yeah, we'd love to do that. So I ended up getting reoccurring passive income from that, where we'd send a guy in to take photos every month. We'd post those on Google My Business. We'd post those on Instagram. They didn't even have an Instagram at that point. And we started building word of mouth marketing for them, and also getting their rankings higher on Google My Business. And I started a bunch of stuff like that. I did Google ads for businesses, where I'd approach businesses. Same thing. I'll do it for free. You just have to pay ad spend. And, if it works, you're going to want to pay me because you're going to be making money. That's
So
good.
it's so good, man. And your story is so incredible. And I know the general theme is you did a lot on the side hustle side and you put a lot of work in, and eventually you started to gain assets and put your money to work for you. And one of the things I've heard you talk about before is how one of your greatest influences was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I think that was a huge game changer for me about 4 or 5 months ago. Completely changed my life. And I've been in here in Malice and using all the information that we have and trying different things, a lot like you, a lot like almost all of us in here. And that's why it was so important for us to talk to you, because your journey and your story is so similar to ours and our values and the things that we get after. And at the end of the day, we just want that freedom and the opportunity to provide for our families and ourselves. And at some point we realize that you don't have to accept the norm. You don't have to accept this idea that we've been taught societally, our whole lives, of get an amazing job, get the benefits, right? The idea of the poor dad there. And instead, we have to go out of our way to learn the ways of the rich dad, which is, make your money work for you, gain assets, work smarter, not harder. So as you got towards the end of your first year, you had made just around 150,000 through a lot of these means, right? What did you do at the year when you didn't hit the goal? How did you adjust? What was your mindset like when you didn't hit the mark, but you just kept going and you found a lot of success now in the second year?
So yeah, I made it to 147,000 that first year, and always my plan was to do side hustles at first, and then add in some sort of investing later. But yeah, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read another book called Richest Man in Babylon, and both of them are kind of the same thing, the same kind of vein. And those two books really shifted my entire view of everything. Where before that, I was thinking like I wanted to build a company where I worked and made a lot of money. And then after that, I was like, there's no way. Like I want my time and I want to earn passive income. Like it just shifted my mindset to that being the goal. And it's something it's such a small change, and it's obviously I'd heard of passive income before and all those things. And it's such a small change, but it had huge implications in like my journey where I shifted year two all the way to, hey, I want to go all in on passive income. Like I'm going to take all the money I made. I'm going to stop doing all this other stuff. And I'm going to focus 100% on buying assets that generate me income, or investing so that I can generate income. And that's when I really shifted into YouTube, actually. YouTube isn't obviously fully passive, but it is, you make one video and that video continues to make you money while you're sleeping, while you're on vacation. Like it can make you money for years, one video. And some people, they'll make a video and that one video will make them $80,000. And so I saw YouTube as like, I didn't start my YouTube for that reason. I started my YouTube because I got a lot of messages from people asking for help. They would ask me, questions about my journey. People were interested, like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I don't know if you guys heard the part, but I do think it's important to mention that like it wasn't just an upward journey. Like it's not like everything I did was successful on my journey. Most things I tried were failures. Most of the things I attempted, I failed at. I just kept rapidly testing ideas until I found something that worked. And that's something a lot of people don't see from my videos and stuff like that. I show it, but I people kind of like skim over that in their minds. And maybe because they're not living it, it's not as big of a deal. But there are a lot of like depressing nights where it's like, can I even do this? Like, am I even capable of doing half of this? And, but in retrospect, it all looks like amazing, but during it was pretty hard. But yeah, so I shifted to investing, and I started doing crypto. And it's not like I'd never done. I didn't know anything about crypto when I got into it. I actually knew a lot about the crypto space. I've mentioned in some of my videos that my father-in-law, Danny, he's weird. He'll invest in these newsletters, and you're still with me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. I was like, I'm looking at the screen the whole time, but he'll invest in these newsletters, and he does this all the time, where he'll like spend all his money. Like, he's not rich. Okay. Like, this makes him sound like he's a baller, but he's not. He was homeless for a long time, where he lived in his own like shop where he worked. And even today, he doesn't have his own house. He like lives in my brother's in-law's house. But anyway, he'd buy these newsletters. They were like $30,000. He'd put money down and buy access to these newsletters. And there's this guy named Tika Taware, and this other guy. He bought them all. He bought every newsletter. And so he'll email them to me and my brother-in-laws, and we've been reading them. Well, they don't read them, but I've been reading them since 2017. And so each week I've read all this stuff about crypto, and like I knew how much money people were making in it, and I understood because it helped him like do this, or how to stake here, or how to use a hardware wallet. Like, I walked him through all those things as I was learning, because I invested a lot into that learning. So when the time came to start investing, I was like, boom, like I know a lot about crypto. I was confident I knew how to do a lot of things that most people didn't know how to do in crypto. So I just took all my money that I had made, that I had in excess, and I started, right away investing it. And unfortunately, at the exact time that I'm going all in on crypto, is right when we had that massive market crash back in May. And so it was like the worst time. Like, I went all in like 2 days before the chart just like turned pure red and just like went straight down. And so unfortunately, it was a really rocky and really tough beginning there. Mm-hmm. But once the crypto markets started to recover, I was still getting in there, still jumping through ideas. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. And I started, just going deeper and deeper. And my kind of whole mindset was, the best deals are always going to be where they're the most difficult to access. Because, you have like the people that get into Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe Doge, right? And then on like a deeper level, you have the people that are like into Coinbase and they're like, I trade the Coinbase coins. And then, maybe on an even deeper level, you have some people that are like, I'll trade some stuff on PancakeSwap that my friends told me about. And then on like the way far end of the spectrum, you have people doing like IDOs, and you have people jumping into like these weird things like Olympus DAO and stuff like that. And so I kind of, I just went as deep as I could go, and to find like, where are people making life-changing amounts of money in a short time that it's really risky, that I know I could kind of outwork people. Because that's kind of my thing, is like, can I do more research than most people do? Could I, look into the white paper, or look into the Discord, and look through everything, and try to paint a clearer picture. I've noticed a lot of people in crypto, they don't, they just look at price. So I'll talk to somebody and I'll be like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I found this crypto and it's a cent. And can you imagine if it went up to 50,000 like Bitcoin? And a lot of people look at the price. They don't even look at the market cap. They don't even say them like there's a lot of misconceptions in crypto. And so I knew with all these little pieces, like, I couldn't win every time, but, hopefully 6 times out of 10, I could beat the market, and that's enough to make, progress forward. And so, yeah, that's what I started doing. I started going one project at a time, and to where now I've, jumped into a bunch of different projects, and some have definitely been losses, but the wins have far eclipsed the ones that ended up being losses.
Are you operating fresh investments off of what you're making passively off of other investments, or are you still working some like side hustles on the side?
So I've stopped doing all the side hustles. So I've even, like, some of my Google Ads clients who were kind of like, Google Ads was mostly passive. With the right client, it's almost fully passive. But with the wrong client, maybe they're emailing a lot per week, or maybe they're, asking for a lot of changes and stuff. It could be pretty hands-on. So those clients, I ended up kind of firing and saying, hey, like, I can't work with you anymore. I just got to focus on what I'm doing. And so, yeah, anything that really takes away my time, I've kind of pushed to the side, because, I only have so much time in a day. I get up and I'll work out. I'll, get started with work, or, plan out my day, get started with work. I'll do work all day, and then I get off work and I hang out with my family. And so I just got into a point where I don't have, I want more time. Like time's my most precious resource. And so and honestly, like I'm making a good amount of money, but I'm not like spending it. Like I don't even know what to spend it on. Like it's not for for me, it's about the journey and it's about just getting more time with my family. Like those are the only two things I really care about. I love pushing myself at this point. It's like addicting to set these goals and go after them. Um, and I want to just be able to travel with my family and go out to dinner. Like 5 kids is really expensive to go out to dinner, or like go to a hotel, go to Disneyland. Like it is unimaginable how expensive it is to go to Disneyland with 5 kids. Like
Yeah.
I want to be able to do these things though with my kids, and so that's basically what I'm spending my money on. I'm not buying a Ferrari or a big house or anything. So um, so yeah, that's I don't I don't even remember why I went down that tangent, but
I think for the same reasons that you had so much conviction on any of the road bumps and hurdles that you've found, whether it was in the beginning working on side hustles and cold calling 50 to 75 people and not getting the results that you wanted, or jumping into crypto and getting crushed under a giant red candle, or
yeah.
even one of the videos you did today. And I really think it's admirable that you do talk about the other side of this. Everybody's talking about, how it's time to put all my money into stable coins and cash out before the next drop and all that. Nobody's talking about the money that they've lost. It's all about when Lambo, right? But you just put out a video today or in the past couple of days about the 4 projects, the tokens that you got into and lost money. So I think the same conviction that led you through all of that really led you to the answer that you just gave, in that you're not spending this money. It's all going right back into the investments. And that really reminds me of a line from the book Set for Life by Scott Tranch over at Bigger Pockets. And he's got a couple of rules for investing towards the end of the book. And one of the ones that he says is never touch the principal. And I think even more so, a lot of us, and it sounds like you as well, we're not even touching the money we make. That's all going right back into investments. But, one of the things he says, and I think a lot of people get it wrong, is they make money, they pull it all out, and they do something else with it. And as long as you invest and then reinvest, that's now a new principle that you're never going to touch again.
Yes, exactly. And that is 100%. Like most of my money that's in crypto never leaves crypto. And that's, when I got into YouTube, I had mentioned I started my YouTube channel to help people because I was getting all these questions of people wanting to do my journey, wanting to know about my journey. So I was like, well, instead of replying to every single person, which is what I was doing, I'd spend like an hour every day trying to reply to everyone, and it just got to too much. I just started posting my videos because I was like, I could share it in a video and everyone could watch that. And then, but then YouTube started becoming this passive income source where I made like $10 one day, and I was like, this is crazy. I just made $10 on YouTube. And so I doubled down. I was like, this could be a legit, not only passive income source, but like kind of like a foundation for anything I wanted to build in life. A YouTube channel is kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like my brand, but my brand is just me and my personality and my story. But it opens up a lot of opportunities. So I was like, I love YouTube. I love helping people. Like I need to double down on this. It makes passive income. I love helping people, love telling my story. So I really doubled down on YouTube. And once I did that, it started exploding. Well, no, that's not true. When I first started doubling down on YouTube, my first focus was trying to do what everyone else was doing. So I focused on the right thumbnail and the right title and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, I just got tired of that, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna be me and see if that like forget what all the best keywords are or whatever. And so as soon as I started doing that, that's when my channel really started exploding. When I was just kind of just authentically me, and then yeah, and that's how I got to where I'm at today.
I just want to say on behalf of myself and really all of humanity, from the bottom of my dark black heart, I just want to say thank you for never using shocking face thumbnails on your YouTube videos. That really means a lot to me and everyone else, because those are the bane of really just society, and you never do them. And what you bring to YouTube is so, and all of your platforms, it's so authentic, and I think that's what makes you so relatable. And like people like us here, I mean, it's a very similar culture here in Malice, in that, you know, we all just want each other to succeed, and, you know, we grow stronger together, and that's really the same atmosphere that you set on all your platforms.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, if you go look at back in my older videos, you'll see that I actually did do those shocking thumbnails
No.
and all that. I did. I started out on it because I was like, well, what's Mr. Beast doing? What's Graham Stephan doing? What are all these other people doing? Is how I started. That's how people always act. It's like when they start a business and all that. But you have to get to a reality, a point where you realize you're never set apart unless you choose to be. You know what I mean? If you're following everyone else, you're going to blend in with everyone else. And it's so much work. Like I just got so tired. It was too much work. It's a lot easier just to be yourself and do what you love and enjoy, because, you know, then you, then you're not really having to work for it. You're just kind of being, I guess.
Man, that's so relatable. That idea of trying to emulate the behaviors and actions of other successful people, which is a great place to start in a lot of ways, but it's just as important to, as you start to get your footing in any new area that you're stepping into, to then grow beyond that into your own, because nothing's sustainable if it's not genuine, and it has to be coming from within you in your own unique style. And really seems like that's that progression of your journey, and I'm sure I love all of your videos, bad thumbnail or not.
Yeah. I don't do it. Obviously, I don't do it anymore. But
So
yeah, I 100% agree. Like when it comes to success, um, you mentioned like what are your habits, or what is your routine earlier on, or
yep.
talking about routine. For me, every single morning, well, so I'll work out for health, like just because it's like, you know, it's good for you to work out. So every morning, I hate working out. It's like the bane of my existence. But I do that first thing in the morning because that's, you know, I know I'll get it done. So I spend an hour working out every morning. And while I'm doing that, I listen to an audiobook. So like, um, I'll you know, whatever audiobook I'm listening to that week. So sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's business, sometimes it's like mindset, success. Um, I mean, it'll be a range of different topics, but it's like I have these really successful people in whatever they're doing, sort of like mentoring me every single day, like sharing their secrets. And people underestimate that. I've talked about it on my channel like tons, that like everyone wants a secret to success. Everyone wants a secret to wealth. They want like some shortcut to wealth. And they don't realize that like the greatest shortcut to wealth is to change and kind of upgrade who you are by learning and focusing on these things that better yourself. Um, and I think people think that's just kind of like, oh, that's just something you say, but it's not real. But for me, that made all the difference. It's like I don't even know how to explain it, but a lot of the choices I have to make day to day, there's a lot of failures I go through. But why did I keep going through those failures? What made me choose to pivot at this point and not this point? Like, there's no easy straight path anywhere. You have to make all these crazy choices along the journey and along the way. And these books and this knowledge equips you to make those choices, where otherwise you might make the wrong choice. And, you know, when you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, you can see clearly that the right information makes all the difference, because you weren't taught a lot of these things you learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad, like to invest your earned income into assets and then spend your income from assets. Like that was a whole foreign concept to me. That if I wouldn't read that book, I still wouldn't, you know that. And so pouring into yourself and learning these things and growing yourself, um, improving your habits and all these things, it makes all of the difference. Because you know, if you've ever seen the show, have you ever seen the show Undercover Billionaire?
I don't think I have actually. No.
Okay, it is like it became my favorite show after I watched the show. They have season one, season two. What they do is they take this guy. His name's Glenn Stearns. He's a billionaire, and they take everything away from him. He wanted to do this. He was tired of everyone saying, "Well, you had an advantage here, you had an advantage there, or this or that." And he's like, "You know what? Anyone could still do this today." So he said, "Pick any spot in America, give me $100, and a beat up old truck, and I'll make $1 million business in 90 days. And so they ended up doing that. They picked Erie, Pennsylvania. He didn't get to know where it was ahead of time. They took away his name. He couldn't use his normal name. He couldn't be like, oh, I was a billionaire or anything like that. They put him in a place nobody knew him. They gave him $100 and a beat up old truck, and he had 90 days to make $1 million, or sorry, to build $1 million business. And the whole beginning of the show, he's like driving around trying to find like these tires to sell. He's trying to do these side hustles. And I actually didn't watch this show before I started my journey. I learned about it as I was doing my journey because everyone's like, hey, it's like Undercover Billionaire. And I was like, what's that? Anyway, so he's trying to find these tires to sell. And he's like waking up at 4 a.m. and like throwing up because it's so cold, and he's sleeping in his truck. And it's this crazy journey. You watching this guy. And I won't ruin the show for everyone and tell you how far he got, but I will say he made it like he did some stuff that it's kind of hard to believe how far he was able to make it in just 90 days. It was amazing. And they don't even tell you in the show. You have to like go on the Discovery streaming app and watch like the behind the scenes. They don't tell you in the show that during this whole thing, he had cancer. He was going through cancer treatment during it. He's like, I don't want that to be in the show because I don't want people to focus on that. I want them to focus on what they're capable of. But he was like being fed through a feeding tube the whole time while he's doing all this. And the whole point that I'm saying is he was able to do that not because of his connections, not because of some tactic, none of that. It was because of everything that was in his head, everything he'd learned. He had built himself up to a point where it didn't matter where you dropped him off, what situation you threw him in. He would be able to succeed and thrive in that situation because he had the knowledge and the skill set to do so.
And that's incredible. That goes to show in so many ways that base of information that you can build, like you said, like these people are practically, your mentors. And I think everybody wants to look, we're conditioned in television and movies that like any great success is achieved through this crazy journey. And like the warrior travels to the top of the mountain in a loincloth with a long sword and slays a saber-toothed wildebeest. And the truth is that, the answers are on your bookshelf, that, a dusty book that you've walked by 1,000 times can change your life if you're open to it. These books, this information out there, which honestly, your book list is a very similar book list to most successful people. And a lot of people here in chat right now, or who's going to listen to this later, have heard of these books and have probably just never thought to pick them up. But that information is tried and true. And I think you take somebody who's extremely successful, and like you said, it's so easy to say, oh, you're successful because of this and that, your success. But the truth is, to be that successful, you build up a knowledge base and a skill set that, like you said, you can take it all away and give them a dusty old truck and they'll still be able to find success because of the compounding information and effort from their life that have led them to that point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's like, Iron Man, you take away the suit, you take away everything, throw him anywhere and he's going to succeed, right? It's like Rambo, give him nothing and throw him in the middle of a battle zone and he's going to succeed. And I know those are fictional characters, but like there's a reality that when you have the skill set and you've worked on yourself and you've invested in yourself first, and that you're going to be able to succeed no matter where. And there's the opposite too, though. If you get rich quick and you have not invested in yourself and you don't know what you're doing, you will likely lose all of that money very quickly because you don't understand what you're doing. And I've seen that time and time again. Sure, you've seen that time and time again. Or like lottery winners, they'll win the lottery, and then like 4 months later, they don't have any money left. There's NBA players where they had $20 million contracts, and 10 years later, they're homeless. And that's because you have to invest in yourself first if you want to succeed at anything. And it's so easy and such an easy place to start. Like, I don't know what to do. Well, pick up a book and start investing in yourself. And that's the first place you need to start.
Great advice, man. Thank you so much. I'd like to shift a little bit. I am extremely jealous personally of something that you have, and that is a legion of fans and followers who feed you projects and alpha every single day. So my question for you is, what is your process for evaluating all of these projects that people send your way every single day?
So it's really just a lot of work. What I do every morning Monday through Friday, is I'll spend an hour a day just replying to comments. Um, it's kind of my belief that, I'm just really thankful for. Dude, I was thankful when anyone followed me. I thought it was weird when I had like 10 followers. Like, this is weird. There's 10 people I don't know that follow me. Like, they spend their time watching my stuff, and that is crazy to me. And so, like today, I have 100,000 followers, and I think that's crazy. And I kind of I wish I could just talk to every single one of them, but I can't at this point, unfortunately. But I do spend an hour a day trying to reply to every comment I can, just trying to answer any questions I can. And as I'm going through my comments and doing that, I end up seeing a lot of different projects every single day that people are recommending. And I start to notice like the ones that get recommended a lot. um, I've gotten to a point where, I've heard so many of them recommended. I know what they are already, so I don't have to like, oh, I've already seen that one, or I've already heard of that one. And whenever I see kind of a new one that I've never heard of before, that the name sounds interesting, or maybe I have an extra second, I'll throw it into Google and I'll just quickly look at the website. And just looking at the website, I feel like I can glean enough from it. Like, I'm sure I miss great projects, but um, it helps me filter at least for what I'm interested in. And so the ones I like, I'll throw in a little list and be like, check this out later. And occasionally there was a project recently where I do a thread now each week, right? I post on my channel and I say, hey, uh, post the coolest projects that you guys are checking out. And so this is an easier way for everyone else to be able to kind of look through these projects.
Right.
And that was the hope. I don't do any sort of pay, and you can like learn about the projects early. And that's not because I don't want everyone else to know about the projects early. I wish there was a way that I could share it with everyone and not have it affect the market. But unfortunately, there's like kind of this weird thing where I have so many people that follow me that if I say, hey, I'm jumping into this project, and even just 1,000 people with $1,000 decide to jump into that project, that's $1 million added to the market cap. And it gets really difficult because I want to have my integrity where I'm like, when I'm launching an experiment, if it succeeded or it failed, that was because I made a bad choice or a good choice. It's not, oh, I told my followers about it, so every project I do now succeeds, which is what would happen if I shared them with everyone when I jumped in.
Right.
So as a kind of a temporary solution, I post this thread where I let everyone post their ideas, and I go through that thread too, and I find new ideas. And a lot of my new ideas I found through that thread. Recently, I was going through one of the threads and I saw a project and it was called Titano, and I was like, "What is this?" So I ended up like, throwing it into Google and checking it out. And I'm actually doing a video about it soon. And it's they said the first automatic staking, cryptocurrency or whatever. And for me, it was like a pure marketing play. Like, I could see that the way that they were marketing was really well done, and I could see it was something people would get excited about and kind of be pumped on because uh, I don't know. It had to do with the automatic staking protocol. It had to do with the fact that it's kind of like a reflection token mixed with sort of like a DAO project in a way, because they have a treasury and all this stuff. There's a lot of different things that I ended up breaking down that I was like, this is kind of cool. So I threw some money in it. I threw like $3,000 into it, and it ended up just blowing up. Like, it was less than a cent when I threw $3,000 into it, and then it was like at one point it went up to like over 50 grand in like 3 days. 3 grand to over 50 grand. But then it ended up crashing. It ended up crashing. They had a really bad AMA, and then it crashed back down to like $14,000, and now it's been kind of hovering around 20 grand. But anyway, I found that through one of those threads, and it's been just a really great source for me to find things. I will get messages from people still where they'll will tell me about ideas, but mostly it's like a giant, filtering process where every day I spend an hour, um, and just through that hour of seeing things, I add to my list. And after researching so many projects, I can kind of identify pretty quickly the ones I'm interested in. I understand all the trends in the space at this point. I understand that there's hundreds of DAO projects at this point, so I'm not always jumping into the newest DAO project. But when I see something that's new and unique, I can tell it apart from the others because I've seen so many other projects, if that makes sense.
Total sense for sure. I think I can relate to a lot of that. I typed in chat like early alpha Titano, and then I heard the rest of it, and I'm about to tell you, like, never mind, not so early anymore. Before I turn it over,
That,
some.
that
What were you saying?
I was gonna say that one is still pretty small. That one, it's at like a $29 million market cap.
Oh wow.
It's just I don't even know who it was that left it in my thread, but I they told me about it the day it came out or something because I must have got it like when it was less than a million or something. It must have been really really small when I got in. But 29 million, like as far as market caps go, 29 million is still really small. Pretty much anything under a billion is like kind of small.
Right.
Definitely anything under 500 million is pretty small. But even at a billion, like it depends on the project, but it can still 100x. Like, do you know what Terra Luna is?
Yes. Yep.
Terra Luna, I got in when it was like a 30 million market cap,
Mm.
and unfortunately, I did not have the kind of money I have right now to throw in. I only threw in a little bit, but it blew up, and now it's like I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars market cap wise. But was it a Binance? I think is it like 100 billion or something? So if you'd bought Binance at 1 billion market cap, you could 100 extra money. So there's still plenty of opportunity even above a billion market cap.
Oh yeah, and we're looking regularly.
Yeah.
Last question I have before we turn it over to some that have been coming up for you in the community here is what are your thoughts on portfolio allocation for most of us here? Pretty much all of us are at the point in our journey in our lives where we can absorb that higher risk, much like yourself and these things that you're going for, so we can be more aggressive. So, what is your thought on portfolio allocation, percentage wise, or at least chunk wise for higher risk to lower risk in these different areas for folks like us?
See, that's kind of hard because like I'm doing a lot of high risk stuff because I'm trying to hit my $1 million goal. Um, I am experimenting with ideas that we have this market dip run right now, and so I'm experimenting with ideas like what can I be putting my money in that's kind of dip proof, that's safer, really really safe. Through the last market dip was Anchor. I've talked about that on my channel. It's like you make 20% annually. They do it through all their it's through their bonding mechanism, but it's not like a DAO. It's like they do loans and stuff. That's all based in the Terra Luna ecosystem. That's a pretty solidly safe one because you're staking in a stable coin, UST, and I had like $16,000 staked on there, and I was making a couple $100 a month in passive income. And so 20% is amazing. People in crypto are used to like these crazy high percentages, but like if you're in the stock market, the average return is 10%. So 20% is like you're really, really doing good. So that's a great place for safe money. Another one is now I'll talk about them in the future on my channel. It's something called yield nodes. Um, I've only tested that out for a month, but that's like it's not like strong nodes. This is totally different. This is actual like validator nodes. So it's called master noding, and basically what you're doing is it's not even a cryptocurrency. You're not investing in a cryptocurrency. You're not buying crypto. You can use a credit card if you want. He or the company will basically rent out these servers like through the cloud or something, and they set them up as nodes, and so they're just validating on the blockchain. They're master nodes, and so your money is just used to rent those servers, and then you get paid a percentage of the profits that are shared among all the people that are renting. The first month I did it, the first full month I did it, I made about 7% over that month. So I had $1,200 and I made about $97. So it's not crazy, but it is crazy. 7% in a month is nuts. Like versus traditional stock market and stuff like that. And you can compound it to about 249%. And that's a lot of money. It actually on their chart they show it beating Bitcoin, so it's like annually year over year. So and that's pretty safe because again, you're not throwing it into a currency. You're just renting servers with your money. So there's no like risk of anything dropping as far as that goes.
I am totally going to look into that. I love that. I think not to get, I have to really fight nerding out with you on a lot of these things. I'm trying to keep it pretty broad here, but I really see there being a serious need in the future for these nodes to be, for these, all these different blockchains and layer ones to need validators and to assure those blockchains, especially as a lot of them make sacrifices where Ethereum hasn't. Whether it's in decentralization or sometimes in security. So I really see that as a place. And I know you've talked about master nodes before and all that. So I'm very interested. We're going to check out yield nodes for sure.
Yeah. That's a cool one. Their site is horrible, and that's what threw me off at first. I didn't jump into it forever because they have like the worst site I think I've ever seen. Like the like main image is like the worst stock photo I've ever seen. It's all stretched out. And the only reason I trusted it is because I had somebody message me and they're like, I've been using it for a long time. I get great returns. It's totally good. And so I do have like that little bit of an advantage because I'll have people message me and be like, yeah, I've used it for this amount of time and I've had no problems.
That's my favorite part about your research into a project. The first thing you say is they have a terrible website.
It matters to me. But at the same time, there is a reality of like, the more ugly the website, in some cases, there might be an opportunity there that's, most people are getting pushed away and you get to get in early. In this case, you can't get in early because it's just kind of a set, like whatever it's earning profit. But yeah, some of these projects is an ugly website. Olympus's early website was really ugly. And all these people jumped in. I don't even know if I would have jumped in with their early website because it looked so like just homemade.
Right.
But it ended up being a great project. Olympus, even still, Olympus is doing some crazy stuff with what they're doing with like their Olympus Pro and all that.
Yep.
Which I think could cause that project to, that project is making a name for itself in the space for sure.
Oh yeah, with the amount of forks there have been that are emulating it and innovating in different chains and all, it's a lot of fun. So we're already kicking pretty good on time, and I want to get to a couple questions. So I'm going to hop over here, and first one I got for you is currently, what project do you have the most invested in, and how confident are you in its success? I ask because I just recently invested in Strong Nodes after doing research and finding your video on it.
Got it. Well, the one that I have the most money in would be, like I mentioned, I threw a little bit of money into Luna when it was a low market cap. It's really high market cap. So I don't remember exactly how much I threw in to start with because I wasn't doing the series like I was now. But it's now worth almost $100,000 what I put in there. And I just haven't really talked about it because it's such a big project now. It's kind of like Ethereum or Finance Point or something like that. It's not like there's this crazy opportunity there, but it will slowly keep appreciating over time, is the hope. But yeah, that's probably not what you meant as far as like you're probably looking for more of an opportunity. The project like that I'm actively like with my current journey and how I'm doing things right now that I have the most money in is probably Rome. I put a lot of money in Rome. And a lot of people didn't understand that because the price has just been going down. And so a lot of people they'll look at fundamentals or they'll look at charts and they'll be like, well, the chart is going this way. So why are you doing that? Like, because most people, they're looking for like, is it a low price? Does it have a high APY? And is the chart been going up a ton and is it going to the moon? Like, which, usually that's how you miss because you're jumping into a project that's already went way up. If you want to get in on the projects that, haven't gone all the way, way up, look for the ones that, don't wait until all your friends are talking about it. You got to get into projects. You got to learn how to get into projects before your friends are talking about it. So for Rome, the reasons I put the most money in there is because for one, I love it. I love the idea of it and like the concept. It's a DAO project like Olympus DAO, but basically they call it APY RPG, where they're gamifying finance. And I get there's a lot of crypto play to earn games, but this is like the opposite end, where it's finance that they're adding game elements onto to make it more efficient. Because basically with these DAOs, the whole point of it is to keep people staked, to keep funds locked. That's why Luna was so successful, is because like every time I went to sell my Luna, which I've tried a couple times in moments of weakness, but it's got a 21-day unbonding period. Like by the time 21 days pass, I don't want to sell it anymore, And so it's really smart that they have those lockup periods. And that's the same kind of idea with Olympus and all this is you want to keep the funds locked because then there's no selling pressure. If nobody's selling their tokens, then how's the price going to rapidly drop, right? If only a few people are buying and nobody's selling, that price is slowly going up. And so that's kind of the strategy is how can you keep people from selling? And the way Rome approaches it is basically by creating this whole gamified system on top. Um, how many people play Fortnite and spend thousands of dollars for nothing in return, you know? So I think video games and gamifying things, making them fun but also addicting, is going to play a huge role in projects in the future, especially in the crypto space where people are kind of already used to that. And so that's why I'm so kind of like excited about Rome. And I talk about it in my video and stuff. They're doing like NFTs and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be it. I'm also in Strong. They mentioned Strong. I'm also in that one, but I've almost paid off my Strong. I have probably like $9,000 left until I'm fully paid off my principal, and then after that, I mean, you can't sell your you can't sell your Strong nodes, so I'll just keep making money from it, I guess.
So awesome. Yeah, definitely a man of conviction over there at Strong, which I think 9 nodes you have.
Uh, I have eight. I have 8 nodes. Um, yeah, I really want Strong to succeed just because there's a lot of haters on the project. A lot of people don't understand that when it comes to Strong, they look at it and they say, "Oh, it's a Ponzi." Um, but I think it has to do with how they're looking at it. Like I view Strong as a startup, so I view it as well, yeah, they don't have their final product, they don't have all this stuff, but like when all these venture capitalists invest in a startup, they have nothing. They have no customers, they have no product. It's just an idea. There's actually venture capitalists that will invest in a company that doesn't even have an idea of what they're going to make. They just know they're a good team that wants to work together, which is crazy. And so Strong had this idea of like, hey, we want to create these nodes that are not validator nodes. They're the nodes that store the blockchain. So if you ever use Binance, you've probably noticed a few times that it's really slow to load a lot of their data.
Right.
And that's because they have so few of these other kinds of nodes that actually store the blockchain. And so they see a need in the space and they're saying, hey, we want to build infrastructure for that. They had an idea and they thought it'd be pretty profitable. And now they're kind of finding as they're approaching these blockchains, the blockchains don't care. Like it doesn't bother them. And so they're kind of having to figure out how they're going to pivot. And it's like, we'll see what happens. But one of the first things they've done to add value to Strong was that they bought a bunch of Ethereum nodes, validator nodes, that mine Ethereum on proof of stake. And so now you can spend Strong to get Ethereum. So even if so imagine like you had a bunch of Strong and it went to 0. Well, you can still stake it to earn Ethereum. So it will never go to 0 because you're able to stake it to earn Ethereum with these nodes on the Ethereum blockchain. So the more things they can add like that adds intrinsic value, the better that ecosystem is going to be off. And we'll see what they do with their nodes and how they decide to pivot with that. I know, like if you think of like Fortnite, a lot of people don't realize the game Fortnite actually started out as save the world. I remember because I was going to buy this game because it's like kind of like Minecraft,
Right.
and so it's save the world, and then as like a limited event, they did their battle royale mode, and they ended up pivoting to that as like their main thing. And so a lot of businesses, Amazon was originally a bookstore, so a lot of businesses pivot. It's just about like, do you have the creative capacity and ability to persist as you kind of have to figure out your business path. So we'll see what happens with Strong. I'm hopeful for it, but I'd also accept if it completely failed. And I've mentioned quite a few times that that's always a possibility with any crypto project.
Always a possibility, man. What you're talking about with these projects, with what's happened in your journey, and it's a quote that one of my mentors told me years ago was that extraordinary people are willing to tear down what they just built to build something better. And I think as long as we commit to that, whether it's a project that we're investing to or in our own investment, I think that will always find us some success. Another question I got for you here is I do video photography and video. I do video and photography. I was thinking about getting into real estate photography, including drone shots, etc. Would you recommend a different route, or does that sound lucrative?
There's a lot of guys who do real estate photography and make a lot of money. when I did videography and I did photography as a hobby, but I would get people that would try to hire me all the time. Um, I never got into real estate, so I can't really say a lot about that. But I know for videography or photography, the need is just continually growing for both of those. Because, like if you think like 30 years ago, you get photos and hang them on a wall and that was it. But now we use photos and videos for everything. So, I mean, whether it's that or whatever, we just talked about like you might have to pivot. Just plan on being like open, try a lot of different things in that area and see where you can get some traction. That's one area with photography or videography where once you get one client, it's way easier to get a bunch more because they're sharing your work openly. They're on their own, and they're kind of self-promoting
So
you.
when I posted my video,
So yeah, that's a great business or area to start in.
So, as a man with a large family and the goal of $1 million, I do not want to take up your entire night, and I really appreciate all the time that you spent with us already. It meant a lot to me that when one of our team members reached out to you, you immediately kind of sight unseen agreed to come on and talk to us, and I'm very proud that we were able to bring both the Malice and Tough Guy family for about 40,000 strong right here to you, and to be able to share your story and your message. I'm gonna hit one last kind of comment and question from the community, and then we can wrap if that's all right.
Yeah.
So this is sounds like you found a way to connect your intuition along with constantly identifying opportunities while quickly exiting or correcting the course to find paths to use the knowledge and value of what you've shaped yourself into in order to achieve success. Would you say your resilience, intuition, and ability to constantly be open to knowledge, acquisition, learning from failure has helped you empower your journey? Is that and keeping true to your values?
Yeah. I see. Yes. Yes. One thing I'd love for people to take away from this is that it's really easy to look at kind of what I've accomplished, and now that I have like a big following on YouTube and stuff, it's really easy to look at me and like think, well, he's just got something special or he's a little bit different. But I've shared a lot on my YouTube channel that like growing up, I was legit the guy that sucked at everything. Like I was good at nothing. Like no sports. I wasn't creative. I wasn't good at art. I wasn't good at video games. Like I was good at nothing. I wasn't good at making friends. I wasn't good at talking. I wasn't good at anything. And so I really was kind of like this blank canvas. Like some people are born geniuses, some people are born prodigies. Like that was not me in any way, shape, or form. Um, and so all these things, resilience and all this, like people like to think that some people have it innately and others don't. Some people have the drive and others don't. Some people have the creative potential or whatever. All that's garbage because it's just not true. Like you learn all of those things. I've learned all of these things. I went from like the most awkward, clumsy, like bad grades, bad at everything guy to really good at stuff because I guess probably because I suck so bad at stuff, it just like drove me to get better. And when you learn that skill set, the skill set of learning how to better yourself slowly and being consistent and being persistent at those things, that is the only thing you have to learn. And then you just stay on that course and you just get better at things where like, I just one day I was just really good at everything suddenly, but it took years and years and years of investing into myself. Um, and even before my journey to a million, I had mentioned I had that company and I built that company, and that was crazy to me. Like that I was able to build that. I I had mentioned in a recent video that like my first job was a cashier. I worked at Rite Aid, and I stocked freezers, and I even sucked at that. Like to be honest, I was not the best employee, and I just slowly kept getting better. I just slowly kept trying to get better. My goal was to make $40,000 a year. And then eventually I hit that. It took years, but eventually I hit that. And then my goal was to launch my business, and eventually I did that. But I learned along the way each step, and I had, you know, I just slowly bettered myself. And if I knew what I knew today, I could have done it way way quicker, and I would have just started by listening to those books because you don't know what you don't know. So just pick up some books, start listening, and your mind's going to start being opened by these weird concepts you've never heard of. That's why a lot of you guys are in this group right now because you're like that. You're open to that. You want to learn these concepts, and you're probably maybe you've learned something tonight that you've never heard of. And so these books start doing that. You're listening to these things, they start doing that, and then you go out there, be ready to fail a ton, but be okay with failing, and yeah, you slowly just grow into this whole different person, and it's amazing. Like it's awesome to look at who I was and who I am and be like, this has been the craziest, funnest journey. And I can't even imagine who I'm going to be in 10 years.
Oh man, it's so crazy to think of, and your journey is truly incredible, which is why we all love to follow it, learn from you, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, everybody here who's listening to this now is absolutely on that same journey as you are, and with you, and that's so awesome. And one of the things that makes me think about is you talked about that, and that all of a sudden one day, it's like when a boat planes, when you're in a boat, you hit the throttle, it's really hard at first to feel like you're getting any momentum, and the boat's kind of like chugging along and it's not going very fast. And then all of a sudden the boat will get on top of the water pretty much with the way that they're built. And that's when a boat gets on plane, and it's higher up on the water. And at one point it just rockets. And all of a sudden, all of that inability to go faster and how hard it was goes away. And that's a lot like what you're talking about. And that really reminds me of that book, and I think it's in one of your lists. It's The Compound Effect. And
yes,
these behaviors, good or bad behaviors, just a little bit over time really amount to this huge thing, and it can make you very successful. Or bad behaviors, even how small and minute they are, something as low as $1 a day or an extra beer a day can really have negative or positive effects over not even that long of a period of time. And one day, all of a sudden, you'll hit awesome mode and be like, whoa, this is great. Why wasn't I this incredible before? And that's really what I was thinking about earlier when you talked about that TV show with the billionaires. That's the compound effect at play. He had a compounding effect over his entire life of learning and success and trial and error. And on TV, I'm sure it looks like he showed up and, slapped down his tires and started crushing the cash. But the truth is that's a lifetime of just working it, and much like you are today. And it's super awesome to see.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, exactly. And I really, I know how hard it was being me before and when I sucked at everything. And I know how hard it was for me, like, and lonely. I just felt so depressed and down all the time. And I was in my head all the time, and I was so negative all the time. And I know, maybe there's somebody in this group or in one of these groups that's like that, and you just feel like you're just not capable of what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, like, if I did it, then anyone could do it, because like I could. There was this one time in high school, I think I shared it in my video, where I was so shy, like my freshman year in high school. I was so shy. That was my math class. And this girl that was sitting next to me, all she did was turn and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was so afraid of what I would say that I would just suck at talking, that I wouldn't even be able to have a normal conversation with a person. That to me, it was a better idea just to keep my mouth shut and just pretend like she didn't exist. Because at least that way she didn't know how much I sucked at just existing. And like that was my mindset. So I went from that to who I am today. And if I can undergo that crazy of a transformation, then whoever is in this group or whoever's listening to this, literally anything you want to do, you can do it. You just have to start and realize you've got to be patient, and you got to make those incremental gains, and you'll be surprised. One day you'll just be like, whoa, this is real. Like, I really could do this. Like, this is crazy. I had this dream, and now I'm living it. I believe anyone could do it. It's just about making those incremental gains.
The positivity there means so much to all of us. Our other project, the other group that's listening, is Tough Guys, and that's a mental health focused NFT project and community. And it's really a project in community first and an NFT project second. That was our first medium, and we're going to be building that for a long time. So to hear you address mental health and just that need to not stop and to believe in yourself and to let that compounding effect build over time is just what an incredible way to close this out. I want to say thank you, Jesse, so much for taking all of this time with us, sharing your story, sharing maybe a little bit of alpha. I think we're all going to be checking out Rome as a crew here, and I'm excited for that. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share or bring before we call it a night?
No, that's a great way to close it. And yeah, if you ever want me back on here, I'd love to talk again. I'm sorry that I was a little bit there's a little miscommunication on the start time, and then the issue where it kept cutting out. So if you want to have me on here again, I'd love to talk again sometime in the
We
future.
would love to have you back. We'll give it some time and let your journey unfold a little more, as well as ours, and then we can regroup and talk about it some. Thank you again. Thank you everybody who listened tonight, and we'll look forward to doing this again. Thanks, Jesse. Have a great night, and same to you all on Tough Guys and Malice.